Hey guys, welcome to Two Guys and a Mouse, the show that gives you all the Disney news, tips, and tricks to get you the most out of your Disney vacation. I'm Lance, and we're here with Les, and today we're going to talk about Les's Disney trip. He's going to recap that, and then we're going to go over some of the most recent Disney news as of this recording. And all of that is coming up next. Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Thanks for joining us today. I'm Lance, and as always, we're here with Les. And Les just got back from a Disney trip, and we're going to talk about that in just a minute. But for now, we're going to go over some Disney news that happened this week. So Les, why don't you take it away?
All right, so today is, as we record this, it's October 27th. So some of this information is probably a few days old by now, and some of it just came out today. So we're going to start out with something that just happened in the last few days, and that is a petition on change.org.
Yeah, I saw that.
It was filed by Anonymous, so there's not a name behind it.
Right.
But they're asking for Bob Chapek to essentially be fired. So as we record this, there's over 40,000 signatures so far. They're shooting for a goal that I saw on the petition site today for at least 50,000. And the way that people have been putting their names to this petition, it's moving pretty fast. So I'm sure they'll reach to 50,000. And is it really going to do anything? Probably not.
Yeah.
There's, obviously a lot of disgruntled Disney fans right now that are basically putting the blame on all of the recent changes on Bob directly.
Right.
So very interesting to see how this pans out. Probably won't go anywhere, but that happened in the last few days. So next thing is Disney hinted in the last day or so on a TikTok video the possible return of the Electric Light Parade. Now,
Ooh, okay.
Currently, I know. Woo. So, it currently runs at Disneyland. So why are we talking about it today? Well, I'm bringing it up because it's kind of flip-flopped between the parks. So it's been at Disneyland, it's been at Walt Disney World, at Magic Kingdom specifically.
Right.
It went back to Disneyland. I believe it's been non-existent since some point in 2019. So the fact that they're possibly bringing it back, I think, is great.
Mm-hmm.
I read a comment from a Disney fan on social media today before we recorded this video that said, "That's great that you're bringing it back, but why is it not in Orlando at Walt Disney World for the 50th anniversary celebration?" And then I thought that was actually a very good point.
Yeah.
It would be great to see it back in Orlando, but if they bring it back, it's probably going to be in Disneyland. So,
Yeah.
And then something that just happened today, so this is recent news, just dropped today, is the mayor of Orange County, where the parks reside, or some of the Disney property resides. The mayor lifted the mask mandate today. So it'll be interesting to see how Disney reacts for the parks in Orlando, Florida. Currently, in the open common areas, when you're walking around outside, a mask is not required. But
Right.
once you get in a queue that is inside a building, or when you're on an attraction that's inside the building, you walk into a restaurant in a building, the mandate is that you have your mask on. On a ride, you have to keep it on the entire time until you exit that ride and the building that ride is in, if it's inside. In a restaurant, you have to wear it till you get to your table. Once you're at your table, you're allowed to take it off. If you leave the restaurant, you have to put it back on. And then buffets, which I'll talk about a little later, if you're at a restaurant where buffets have returned, when you go up to the buffet, they require you put your mask back on to go get the food. Obviously, you come back to the table, you can take it back off. So no word from Disney so far on how they're reacting to the news. if they're going to keep the mask mandate as is, or will they relax it like they've done in the past. So we'll report on it as soon as we have that information.
For sure.
And yep. And then the next thing is, and much to my dismay, and it breaks my heart, the refurbishment and the reopening of the Walt Disney World Railroad, which is in the Magic Kingdom Park, has been now pushed back until 2022 at some point. They're not releasing a specific date that the railway or the railroad will reopen, but they have confirmed it's now going to be in 2022, and it won't happen before the end of this calendar year. So very sad. It's been closed for, I believe, close to 3 years now.
Yep.
It was closed for a while because of the Tron Light Cycle ride being installed, because it runs literally right next to the new ride. So with the construction of the ride, it was obviously closed for that. But they did do some refurbishment. I've actually seen pictures where they were tearing up the old track and they were putting down new railroad ties, new track. So they're actually were doing work on it. I'm sure they did some work to the train itself. But yeah, I shed a tear that it won't be open until sometime next year. So
yeah,
I'll turn it over to Lance.
All right. So in other news, the character meet and greets have been renamed to sightings. Now, Disney Parks blog shared the news, which in part said, and I quote, "Although the environment is not right just yet for hugs and autographs, you'll soon be able to have individualized time with some of your favorite characters, getting to visit with them in a themed location and snap a photo or two." This is great news because, you know, one of the things, I have small children, and one of the things that they look forward to on a Disney trip is to get to meet their favorite characters and see them. So I'm really excited for this news that you know, the meet and greets are coming back and being renamed to sightings. Again, you know, not close contact just yet, but I'm sure in the future those will come back. The ride vehicles for oh, go ahead.
It's a step in the right direction.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, for sure.
It's definitely a step in the right direction. I mean, you know, the kids and the families have been longing for it, and
absolutely.
I know, obviously, we're still in the pandemic. You still have to be cautious about that, but
right.
At least they're trying to make an accommodation to allow, you know, families and kids to take pictures. So,
absolutely, absolutely, it's going to be good. I'm looking forward to it. I will be down this summer, and so hopefully it'll be a good time. So. Moving on, the ride vehicles have begun to arrive for the Tron Light Cycle at Magic Kingdom and Guardians of the Galaxy Cosmic Rewind at Epcot. So keep your eye out for those ride vehicles, and you know, the opening for those we'll report on when we find out. Run Disney announced the half marathon. I believe that's coming up for November. To coincide with the tail end of Food and Wine Festival is the Disney Villainous Half Marathon. And if you go on to rundisney.com, you can get all the information there and sign up for it if it's not already sold out. Moving on to Genie and Genie Plus, that premiered on October 19th. Les, when you were down at the park, did you get a chance to use it?
So I did and I didn't. So
okay.
What happened is I was in the park for the last day on the 19th. That was an Epcot day for myself and my family. And what happened was, in the morning before we even left for the park, I opened the My Disney Experience app. I got not a warning, but I got a notification that Genie was available, when it was asking me if I wanted to basically update the app. Okay. So I said yes. It took me to, I have an Android phone, so it took me to the Google Play Store. And it was a little bit confusing because it didn't say update. It was almost like I wanted to install the app for the first time, but since I already have the app installed, it basically just gave me the option to open it. So I clicked open, the My Disney Experience app opened, and I really didn't see anything different. So I went on social media and I quickly found a bunch of other users that were running into similar issues, and basically someone said, uninstall the app and reinstall it. So that's what I did.
Okay.
Long story short, I got the updated app. It has an updated badge or icon on my phone now. It has the 50th logo on it. Very cool. And I basically used Genie. So to make a long story short, I was going to use Genie Plus because it was the first day out and I wanted to experience it and be able to report on that to our fans and our followers. But I ended up not doing Genie Plus, and here's why. Epcot is not really a park that you necessarily go to for rides. And the selection of the rides that you really have available to you aren't really super fantastic. And the fact that we got to the park late, we weren't there at rope drop, and we were leaving early because it was our last day in the parks. And honestly, my family was ready to go
I hear you.
back to the room and the house and pack up to get ready to go early the next morning. So
Gotcha.
I just didn't feel like it was going to be a worthwhile trial for me to do that. So I opted not to do the Genie Plus part of it.
Gotcha.
That, and if I wanted to do Ratatouille, Ratatouille is one of the rides that you have to pay extra for. It's not included in the base $15 Genie Plus price.
Right.
So the value just wasn't there, and I didn't really have the time to dedicate to it that day. But I did use the Genie service. So going through the screens, and I did take some screenshots, but going through the screens, I did kind of pick out some things that I was interested in for the day. Obviously, because you're using the My Disney Experience app, it knows what park you have a reservation for, so it knew I was going to Epcot. And I just went through, it was kind of like a questionnaire, basically, and I checked boxes for things I was interested in, skipped the things I wasn't.
Right.
And then at the end, it basically says, okay, well, you showed an interest in this, and we recommend that, maybe you go to that attraction, or if it's something in the World Showcase, you go to that country's pavilion, like between, say, 12 and 1:30 would be the best time for you to go to have a low wait time for whatever it was that I was interested in. So I did follow that throughout the day while we were in the park. I thought it was kind of neat. If you're someone who really likes a regimented schedule, and I've been that person in the past, I know people that are like that now, or I mean, people will take it to the nth degree and build like an Excel spreadsheet and say, from at 9 o'clock we're doing this, at 9:15 we're doing this, at 9:30 we're doing this, and they try and follow it to a T. I don't do that anymore. I've been to the parks enough times that I'm just going to enjoy the atmosphere, enjoy the park. Yes, there's obviously going to be some rides that I'm going to want to go on, but my whole day is not based on a schedule anymore. We just kind of wing it. And so I think it's nice to use Genie for that. And if you want to follow it, you can. You don't have to obviously follow its suggestions. You can go do whatever you want. But it does give you an idea of when things might be better to go visit them. So
Gotcha.
From that perspective, I did like it.
Now, see, I'm curious, right? In the past, I've used the Touring Plans app, and it's a service that, you pay for. But I've used the Touring Plans app where it gives you, what's the posted wait time versus what's the actual wait time. And then it kind of, as you kind of go through the park and you go about your day, it re-optimizes as you go along. Does Genie Plus, not Genie Plus, does the Genie service part of the app, the regular Genie, does that do that based on kind of like the ebbs and flows of the crowds, or is it one of those, what I mean to say is it a fluid thing, or do you have to go in and hit the button to re-optimize your plans if things kind of go sideways?
Yeah, that's a great question, and I didn't see it do that.
Okay.
That's not to say that it doesn't do that or it won't do that.
Okay.
But in me checking the app as we were walking around the park during the day, I didn't really see it make adjustments on the fly. but it's something we can definitely look into, and
Sure.
if we find out one way or the other, we can report that to our followers. But I just didn't see that in my experience with the app last week. So, but you do bring up a good point about the wait times, because that was something I did want to discuss on this video that I forgot to write down in my notes was the wait times. So there was a comment that I saw, or a story that I read about the Genie Plus and using the Lightning Lane and wait times. And Disney has basically stated that do not follow or do not use the wait times that are posted on the My Disney Experience app as gospel. There are basically, it's not an exact science.
Right.
There are things that influence what the wait times will be. And in my experience in my last 2 trips, so I've been to Walt Disney World in April of this year, and I just returned, obviously, from the trip this October. And I can tell you that my experience both times, for the most part, not 100%, but for the most part, whatever the posted wait time was, we got in and on the ride quicker. And in some, if not a lot of cases, we got in line on the ride and out of the ride quicker than what the posted wait time was. So as an example, random ride, posted wait time was 60 minutes. There were cases where I got in the line, started a timer on my phone, or I just looked at what time it was, got on the ride, got off the ride, walked out of the attraction, looked at my phone again, and it all happened in, say, 45 minutes. And their posted wait time was 60 minutes.
Yeah. I know that
so-
in my experience with using the Touring Plans app, and this is no way sponsored by them or anything like that. It's just an app that I have used in the past and have had success with. I've found that it generally gave me a pleasant experience in the parks over using the MDE. Now, again, this is all before Genie, so maybe either what I'm hearing, Les, is that you and me should take a trip for research. You using Genie and me using my Touring Plans app, and kind of take that head to head. I think that would be a good thing for a future video. What do you think?
Hey, I'm on board for it.
But
Sounds good to me.
oh yeah, for sure. But so I mean, how generally speaking, let's recap your trip. How were things? Like, tell us about it. Let's. I want to hear some deets.
So it was a great trip. What I will, since a lot of what Lance and I want to bring to you is like he says at the opening of every video, tips and tricks to help you plan your trip to Walt Disney World, right? So this was the first trip where we purposely built in what I'll refer to, or I'll call down days. And so what do I mean by that? It's a day that we intentionally planned to not go to a park.
Yep.
It was a day that we could just sit at the house. We were in a rental house for this trip, which was also a first for myself and my family. We've never rented a house out in town, but that's what we did because we had a lot of family going on this trip. So in the house, like most of the houses down there, especially in these big communities, they all have pools. I think every house in this community had a pool. It had a hot tub. It had a screen-in porch, so you didn't have to worry about bugs and stuff. And it gave us the opportunity to decompress and recover from the previous couple of days in the parks. And we did that twice.
Love down days. I always build those into my trip. Always, always, always.
Yeah, this was new for us, and I will definitely be doing it in the future. I can understand the excitement for a family that either A, hasn't been there ever,
right,
and now it's your first time going, and you want to pack in as much as you can in that trip, because either A, you don't know when you're going to be back, or maybe this is a once and done thing, you know?
Right.
So I get it. I've been there. I've done it multiple times, where from 6 o'clock in the morning till 11, 12 o'clock at night. We're just hammering it. Pedal to the metal, go, 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 go.
Right.
And you can do that for so many times or for so long, and then you're exhausted and you can't do it anymore. I'm getting to the point in my life, as is my wife, where we don't need to do that anymore.
Right.
And our kids have been there enough now, and my kids are older, they're not young, and we don't need to do that, or they don't even want to do that anymore. So having these down days was really great.
Yeah.
And the house that we rented had they turned the garage into a rec room. So it had cool. Like a foosball table, it had a billiards, it had an air hockey table. So pretty much as soon as we came back from the parks, or if we just did some running around out in town, like grocery shopping or whatever, most of the kids went right in the garage and they were just hanging out in there, which was really nice too. While the adults pretty much went out on the patio and either chilled at the table and the chairs outside, or like me, went in the hot tub to kind of let the body recover a little bit from the punishment I've been dealing it. So that's that. As far as the parks, we started off at Hollywood Studios. I obviously hit the big ones like Minnie and Mickey's Runaway Railway. Always a great ride. If any of our followers are going to go to Hollywood Studios, I highly recommend the ride. It's totally different. It's new technology.
I love the ride.
It's going to be the same technology that Rise of the Resistance is based on, and the new Ratatouille Ride at Epcot. It's this trackless car that basically is programmed to just follow a pre-programmed route throughout the attraction.
Yep.
And it does different things.
I think the neatest part about the trackless ride technology is the fact that they have pause stations built into the ride, and you as the rider and the people getting on the ride are never aware of it. It's the coolest thing. So I know in Mickey's Runaway Railway there is a pause station that have you ever been on a ride, Les, like, let's say, for example, here's a good one, Haunted Mansion. You're in the middle of the ride and you're just coming down from the attic into the graveyard, and all of a sudden the ride stops. Right?
Yep.
Because for whatever reason, somebody needs to get off the ride, they're having some difficulty or whatever. Whatever the answer is, it is what it is, it happens, no big deal. Well, Disney mitigates this by having built-in scenes in the trackless technology, and in Mickey's Runaway Railway's case, I believe it's the dancing scene where Daisy has you doing the tango or whatever it is.
Yep.
That is a variable scene, and based on what's going on in the queue, you can either be in there longer or shorter than you need to be in order to keep the ride moving and you not have to sit and wait to get off the ride. It's amazing.
It's funny you bring that up, because actually when we rode it this time, when all of the cars got into that room that you just described, she didn't start talking immediately once all the cars were in there, which is what happened in my previous experience on that ride back in April. There was actually a pause or a delay of, I'm gonna say was probably 10-15 seconds. Yeah. Where she didn't say anything, and then it picked back up, and then she started talking about, us dancing, and then the cars started moving around and doing their thing. So yeah, I didn't know that. So that's good information.
Yes, sir.
And it's actually the same for Rise of the Resistance. It's the same thing.
Correct.
You go into various like scenes or rooms, and you sit there for several seconds depending on what's going on. So it's not constantly moving. And was the same with Ratatouille Ride. As you move throughout the different scenes and in different rooms of the attraction, you are not constantly moving. You do come to a stop, and you will stay there for several seconds. It's not very long,
No,
but
it all adds up, and
right.
and the scenes can be dynamic based on if there's a long pause, they may change a couple of things dynamically on the fly with the computers and stuff, as they need to. I think I want to say that I've not been on Rise of the Resistance yet, but I want to say the escape pod scene descending from the Star Destroyer, no spoilers or whatever, but I want to say that scene is one of those like transitions where if there's people trying to get on and off the ride and there's a delay, that scene can play out longer or shorter based on the needs of the queue.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, it's I'm not sure where it would be in Ratatouille, but there's probably it's probably the same scenario, I would assume.
Right.
So
yeah.
But that's pretty much Hollywood Studios. What was crowd attendance like? We were only in the park one day. It was pretty busy. Probably not the fullest I've seen the park, but that was our first day. So that was a Tuesday, and it was the Tuesday right after Columbus Day weekend, or Indigenous Peoples Day, or whatever you call it in your part of the country, wherever you're watching this from. So it's very possible that there were still families that were on vacation that day. Mm-hmm. And I haven't confirmed this, but I did see somewhere on Facebook or other social media, I think it was Facebook, that people were posting about crowd attendance in all of the parks the first week that I was down, and that it would seem to be higher than what it had been previously. And someone commented that in the state of Tennessee that they were on a fall break for school. I know nothing about school districts in Tennessee. I don't know if this is true. I don't know if all the districts take the same break on the same week, on the same days. I have no idea. But I saw that on social media. I thought it was interesting. Crowds did seem to be down the first half of this, so I was there basically a week and a half. So at the tail end of my vacation, I did feel like park attendance was lighter than it was the first week. So Hollywood Studio Kingdom, I did Magic Kingdom 2 days, and obviously hit all the rides that I wanted to hit, with the exception of People Mover. Somehow we missed People Mover. But I did Seven Doors Mine Train Ride, which is... some people don't like it. I like it. I think it's a great little coaster.
I love that ride. Yes.
You got to wait for it because it's one of the most popular rides in the whole park, so you got to wait. Mm-hmm. But honestly, we went right after we walked in the park on the first day. We did not have to wait too long. I've waited longer for that ride, and I think we were on in about 45 minutes or so, which honestly is not bad for that ride. No. I didn't make it on Splash Mountain on the first Magic Kingdom day, but I did on the second. I took an exorbitant amount of pictures, still pictures, of Splash Mountain, and I took a GoPro video of the ride itself. Why did I do that? Because Disney does things without telling anybody, because they don't need to, and you just never know when they're going to shut down Splash Mountain, because they are going to retheme it. That is confirmed. It's not going to be Brer Rabbit and Brer Fox and that whole like Song of South motif anymore. That is going away, and it's going to be the Princess and the Frog. So I don't know when they're going to shut down that ride again. And honestly, I didn't want to miss the opportunity to ride if I didn't ride it, and now between this trip and my next trip, they closed it for the refurbishment, I would have been heartbroken. So I took a ton of pictures, even in the standby line. I took pictures of everything. I kind of went over the top. And like I said, I took video of the ride itself. So I got that in. We ate at Crystal Palace the first day. Crystal Palace went back to a buffet style rather than it being family style. Or actually, I think Crystal Palace was actually like you picked individual entrees. But it's back to a buffet. As I said earlier, when you go up to the buffet, you have to put your mask on. It really wasn't a big deal. The food was good. Honestly, did I feel like I got my money's worth? Probably not. I don't know. I was a little disappointed in the buffets this time because I did Crystal Palace when I was at Magic Kingdom, and then we went to Epcot after that, and I did Beer Garden, which is also now a buffet. When I went to that restaurant in April, it was family style. The food was good, don't get me wrong. Beer Garden, I actually felt like the food was better in April than it was this time. And
Okay.
I wasn't the only one that felt that way. My wife said the same thing. And my daughter and her boyfriend, who were with both in April and this time, they opted not to eat there on this trip. So I don't have any feedback from them on how they felt about the food. The service was fantastic. Both times at Beer Garden, we've had the cast member that was our waitress was fantastic both occasions. And the cast members this whole trip, in general, were all great. I don't think I came across one cast member that kind of made me scratch my head or did something that I disagreed with. I gotta commend the cast members on both these trips. I think they're really trying to do a good job. I think a lot of them have been unnecessarily abused by guests, which I just don't get. It's not fair to them. But in my experience, these last two trips, they've been great. They really have. I don't think they get enough credit. Epcot, food and wine. Here's a tip that I'll tell to our followers. I didn't take advantage of food and wine this time, and it wasn't intentional. What happened was that first day that we went to Epcot, and we planned on eating at Beer Garden, and because I knew we were eating at Beer Garden, I didn't eat as much from the various food booths at the food and wine. That was a mistake. That was a mistake. I wouldn't do that again. And not that I don't want to eat at the restaurants in Epcot, because there's actually quite a few restaurants in Epcot that I really do like. But if you're going to go for food and wine, I think I kind of did myself a disservice maybe by doing that, by trying to save myself for that meal in the restaurant. I didn't take advantage of a lot of the great food and the great desserts that are available while food and wine is going on. So my suggestion would be if you're ever going to go during food and wine, then maybe plan it out a little bit better if you want to do a sit down meal rather than just walk around the World Showcase and just kind of pick different dishes that maybe you've never had before or will never have again.
Here's the $10,000 question, Les. Did you redeem yourself with the drinking around the world challenge?
I didn't, and I didn't even try.
Okay.
I didn't even try. I talked about it, that I was gonna do it, and I think my wife was preparing for the worst in case I did do it, and I just opted not to do it on this trip. Now you can drink around the world on any trip to Epcot. That's not like
Sure.
A food and wine thing. You can do that
Right,
365 days a year. So
Yes, sir.
there's always the next trip. It just didn't happen this trip, so I'm sorry to disappoint.
Well, put it this way, Les. You have April, so hopefully you'll match my one before I get 2 up on you, because I'm going again in June.
All right. To wrap up Epcot, I did the Ratatouille ride, just opened on the 1st. I only did it the one day because that is a virtual queue ride unless you pay to go through the lightning lane, which I wasn't willing to do. But we were lucky enough on our first Epcot day we missed out at 7 o'clock. Actually, to be honest with you, we forgot to try and get a line in the virtual queue, or reservations rather, in the virtual queue at 7 in the morning. So we were already at the park, and at 1 o'clock we tried, and we actually got a boarding party to get on the ride. So we had to wait until it was late. It was like 7:45 at night, I think. And but we got on. Really liked it. I really liked it. My wife closed her eyes a lot because she said it was kind of making her a little upset to her stomach. But I did take video of that. And it's kind of tough with that one because you do wear, some of the rides, you wear special glasses so you can see like the visual effects that are on the screen. Rise of the Resistance does not do that, and Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway does not do that. But Ratatouille, the way that they project the images on the screens that you're looking at, you have to wear these special glasses. So when
Almost
I
like
recorded
Muppet
it,
Vision 4D.
yeah, exactly.
Okay.
So when I recorded it, I actually took a second pair of those glasses and I kind of held it up to the camera, and I really don't know how it came out. I didn't go back and look at the video yet, but I tried my best. And then last two things at Epcot was I tried the crepes, so I was posted pictures of that on Instagram and Facebook. Hopefully you got to see them. If you didn't, you can go back and look at them. I think everyone in my whole family, there was like 11, who was there? Yeah, one of us was not there, so there was 10 of us. I think almost everybody in the family, in the party, got a crepe from the new restaurant in Epcot, and it's right by the Ratatouille Ride, so it's very cool. It's behind the France Pavilion. Food was fantastic, and I had a mimosa that was good. And then the cast member mistakenly poured like a little bit of this cider, I think is what she called it, and then she realized she was pouring the wrong drink, so she's like, "Here, you want to try the cider?" And I was like, "Sure." So I tried that. And whatever that was really good too. So
by mistake.
Yeah.
Air quotes.
Yeah. Hey, I wasn't going to turn it down. So, and then the last park, so Animal Kingdom. Always do Expedition Everest. I got to do that ride. I did record that with, I believe I used the GoPro for that too.
Yep.
And we ate at Tiffin's.
That one's going down for refurbishment, isn't it? Like soon?
I
want to say like sometime in January it's supposed to go down for refurbishment.
Yeah, that one I'm not sure. There are things that they are taking down for refurbishment. I just don't remember if that's one of them or not. So, and look, I understand things, rides obviously require maintenance. They probably require a lot of maintenance that obviously the guests never see. It's a shame to take stuff down during the 50th celebration, though. But yeah. I guess, hindsight, or on the other hand, they really couldn't shut down a lot of rides leading up to the 50th either. So it's probably inevitable that they would have some maintenance and refurbishments on some of the rides during the celebration. But
but I mean, the celebration is 18 months long, so
it is. And the rides, some of the rides are only down for a month. And they're back up.
It's not going to be long. I think it's only going to be down for 2 months. I think it's supposed to be back up by June. If it's not, Yoshi's going to be upset because the last time we were standing in the queue for that and Dinosaur, both rides broke down on us. Well, last time we were at Animal Kingdom, so we didn't get to go on it last time. So I think it's coming back. I think it's set only to be like a 2 or 3 month refurbishment. So we'll see. See what happens.
Well, if it doesn't come back up till June, that means I won't get to ride it on my next trip. So,
yeah.
And then I guess the creme de la creme was Space 220. So
I can't believe you got reservations for that, man. That's amazing.
Yeah, and the funny thing was, I kept checking on almost a daily basis to try and get reservations through the My Disney Experience app, and I wasn't finding anything. So we got to Epcot that day, and this was the last day that we were in the parks. It was the very last day, and we were leaving the next day. And we got to the park late, and I actually left my family at the line to get into the park. For whatever reason, it was just taking forever that day. And I was like, you know what? I'm going through the annual pass holder line, and I basically blew right through the gate. I got in, and I said, I'm going right to the restaurant, and I'm going to try and get us reservations. So I did like a really fast walk over there, and they have a line outside, and that's for getting into the lounge, which you don't need reservations for. It's basically first come, first serve. And there was a couple of cast members standing there. One of them goes, are you here for the lounge line? And I said, yes, I am. And then she's like, okay, it's right here. There's a couple ahead of you. And I said, perfect. And she's like, the lounge will open at 11:30. And I looked at my phone, and it said it was 10:20 in the morning. And I was like, holy cow, I'm not waiting an hour and 10 minutes. So I think she kind of saw the expression on my face, and she's like, I do have some open reservations. Would you like to see what I have available? And I'm like, you actually have open reservations?
Wow.
And she's like, yeah. So I'm like, sure. And she's like, okay, follow me. So we went like into away from the line, and there was like a little kiosk there, a little desk that cast member was sitting at, and she basically picked up an iPad and was like, okay, how many in your party? And I'm like, well, that's a problem, like, because I have 9 people here today. And she's like, oh, I can accommodate up to 13. And I was like, what? So she's like, yeah, no problem. So I was like, well, tell you what, I'm like, let me call my wife, and I'm going to find out exactly who wants to eat here. I said, because I don't want to make reservations for 9 people and then only 2 of us are going to eat here. So I called. Turns out it was just going to be me, my wife, and my son. So I make a reservation for 3. I kind of had a pick of a couple different time frames, which really blew me away. So we picked, I think, like 4:15 in the afternoon. Went and did our stuff in the parks. And then, so that was another day that I really didn't take advantage of Food and Wine Festival, because now I knew, hey, I'm going to eat at Space 220, and I don't want to fill up before I go there, especially because it's a 3-course meal.
Right.
So, again, tip for all of our followers and watchers, don't do that. And but the meal itself, so how was it? The food was great. Was it a 3-course meal? Yes. We had our pick of, I'm going to say, 5 different appetizers. It was like 5 to 7 appetizers. The entrees was like 5 to 7 different entrees, and it was seafood. They had a chicken dish in there. They had steak, which is what I opted for. I posted all those pictures on Facebook and Instagram. Again, you can go back and check them out. And then we had our choice of like 5 different desserts. And then they have some special drinks that you're not going to get anywhere else in the parks. It was like exclusive to the Space 220 restaurant. So we tried this it was a rum drink, very sweet, and I actually didn't like it. That was probably the one thing in the whole restaurant that I didn't like, was my drink. I ended up just drinking the water, and then I got a cup of coffee later.
Gotcha.
But my wife drank both the drinks. I think she thought it was okay. I don't think she was overly crazy about it, but she was okay with it. And but the food for all 3 of us was very good. Would I go there again? Yes, but I think the next time I go, I would probably try the lounge. And the reason I would do that is because they have, if I'm not mistaken, you can order off of the restaurant menu, but there's a few things at the lounge that you can get that are smaller and cheaper in size than what's available on the restaurant menu. Gotcha. So to try it from a different experience, I think the next time I do it, I would do the lounge. Would I go and get reservations for the restaurant again? Probably. I wouldn't take my whole family. It would probably just be like something special for my wife and myself. Is the value there? I mean, because it's $80 per person for dinner. I forget what the price was per person for lunch. I think it was a different price. I don't know. I just don't. I don't think so. But would I go there again? I'll go there again.
Yeah.
I'm willing. I think I've said this in a past video. I think when you and I were talking about the Food and Wine Festival, I'm willing to pay good money for the food that they have there, because I truly believe that Disney doesn't serve crap food. The quality of the food is good. Is it always going to be cooked to perfection? There's always a human element, right? You know, even
Absolutely.
if the food is good, but it's not prepared properly, it's not the food's fault. It's just that it wasn't prepped right or it wasn't cooked right. But that's
Yeah.
doesn't mean that the quality of the food is bad.
Correct.
So, was the quality of the food good? It was. Was the cast member who waited on us good? He was fantastic. He was actually a part of the experience. And as we looked out the windows in the restaurant, which are supposed to be you looking out into space, which was really cool. And every time something popped up, like a spaceship or something popped up, if he was standing there already talking to us, or he just happened to be walking by and he saw something in the window, he would stop and he would literally take the time to point it out and give some backstory on it. So the guy was great.
Good.
But I'm willing to pay good money to eat in the restaurants. I don't know. It just seemed a little excessive. So,
Yeah.
moving on. I'm just trying to wrap this up. Gideon's. So, posted pictures from Gideon's. I spent like $100 at Gideon's on basically desserts. But we wanted to try a lot of different things. So I think we got like 5 different cookies, and we got the red velvet cake. And I was least impressed with the red velvet cake. It just didn't seem to have a lot of taste. Not that it tasted bad, it was very bland to me. But the cookies were all very good, very sweet. I think we had not cookies and cream. Now I can't think of what it was. We had a death by chocolate one. That's not what it was called, but that's essentially what it was. It was like a chocolate cookie with chocolate chips. We had regular chocolate chip. Maybe it was cookies and cream. We had a peanut butter one. There was a peanut butter cookie with tiny peanut butter chips on it. And then there was like a pistachio cookie. I think the cookies and cream one was the best one that I tried. But yeah, it's like $6 a cookie, and we got like 5 different ones, and some of them we got multiples of. The cake, I don't even know what we paid for the cake. We weren't even looking at prices. We were just basically, once you get inside, and I had to wait 2.5 hours once I put my name in the virtual queue. I got a text 2.5 hours later to come back. Now, once I got back and I got in line, it took another, I'm going to say 15, 20 minutes till I worked my way through the line and actually got inside. And once you're inside, it's tiny. It's a very small retail space in this building. Decorated very cool. I really liked the atmosphere, and the presentation of the store was very neat. And the food was good. Probably the cake was the only thing that I wasn't crazy about. All the cookies were very good. Definitely will go there again. If anybody is interested in Gideon's, I'd say go first thing in the morning. If you're gonna be at Disney Springs, I highly suggest going to Gideon's. It's great, and all the food was very good. So give it a try. I don't think you'll be disappointed. Unless you really don't like super over-the-top sweet stuff, it can be a little excessive and decadent. But all in all, we really liked everything that we had from there. Last thing, some just miscellaneous stuff. So we reported in the past about the 50th anniversary merchandise. And I did see a lot of it. They have it. Most of the stuff that we saw was in Magic Kingdom. You are going to find 50th anniversary merchandise in the other parks. I just don't think as much as Magic Kingdom, and probably secondly, Epcot has the next most merchandise after Magic Kingdom. Animal Kingdom and Hollywood Studios, not so much. Seeing it in person, there's some cool stuff. There's a lot of stuff that I don't know. I guess when it comes to like the clothing, I'm very particular. I'm very picky, and I don't know why.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't even find. I was looking for a very simple Mickey T-shirt on this trip, and I came home empty-handed. There was one that I had in my hand, and I was about to go to the cashier, and I ended up putting it back on the rack, and I didn't get it.
Was it from the Vault collection, or was it from one of the other collections?
It was not from the Vault collection. I did look in the one store on Main Street in Magic Kingdom where they had a bunch of the Vault stuff. And I don't know. I really thought I would find something, but I didn't. And I don't know if it's just, I don't know, if it's me just being a guy that I didn't find.
Well, I mean, you did go kind of early in the celebration. It did really just start, and it goes for 18 months. Who knows? They might release something in April that you'll really like, or something like that. Did you happen into World of Disney at all to see if anything caught your eye there?
I was, and I took video in there too, that we can post in the future, and I don't know. It's to me, it's just all like, it just screams cash grab. and I don't like saying things like that about Disney, but I just, and I mean, don't get me wrong, World of Disney when we were there was packed. I mean, you could, and I don't think they were really watching how many people. No, they weren't watching how many people came in the store, but it was wall to wall people. I mean, there were spots where like I couldn't even walk because I had so many people around me. It was that full.
Gotcha.
At Magic Kingdom in like the Emporium, and which I mean, once you walk into the Emporium, right, that it's basically one store after another. You walk from one side of Main Street all the way to the other side of Main Street in one store,
all the way to the end,
and that was slammed too. And probably about midway through that whole building is where they had all the 50th anniversary merchandise. And people were just going crazy, grabbing some of the 50th merchandise there. It was the same way at World of Disney. There was like one section of that large store where it was all of the 50th merchandise that's like all colored in the special iridescent colors that they have going on, that whole theme for the celebration. And I think the only thing that I got, and I didn't even pick it up myself, my family got it, was there's a special Lego set that's the castle, and it's very small. It's not
the big one.
No, not the big one. This one was only $40. And the first day, I believe it was the first day we were at Magic Kingdom, some of my family, they saw a cast member putting them out, and people were grabbing them as fast as the cast member could put them on the shelves. And it's a limit of 2. So like everything right now is a limit of 2 because they just know that people are buying this stuff and it's going instantly on eBay and other places. So they ended up going back another day. Like we were at Epcot, and they actually park hopped back to Magic Kingdom, saw that they had more of these Lego castles, and they actually picked one up for me. And then they met us back at Epcot for dinner that day. So honestly, I think outside of pins, The only thing that I went out of my way to buy was pins, because I like to collect the Disney pins. But I didn't get any clothes. I just bought a bunch of pins, and it's celebration of Alice in Wonderland right now. So they had some special Alice in Wonderland pin stuff. I got some of that. The Lego set, and that was about it. And then Polly, while we were there, I think we were at the last day that we were at Magic Kingdom, I caught wind on Facebook from other Disney fan groups on Facebook that Polynesian had dropped some Polynesian specific 50th anniversary merchandise. So when we left Magic Kingdom that day, we actually took the monorail over to the Polynesian and went in the store and perused all of the merchandise. I did get a special matted print for the celebration.
Oh, very cool.
And what else? There was a special pin for the 50th, which I bought. And I was afraid if I didn't buy it now, that maybe I wouldn't get on the next trip. The cast members didn't seem to know if it was a limited supply of that merchandise or if it was going to be available the entire celebration. So I opted not to take a chance, and I bought some of the stuff while we were there in case it wasn't there when I went back in April. But that's about it. I mean, had a great time. I was tired.
Wow, Les, it sounds like you had a great trip, and I'm hoping to have a great trip in June, and you're going to go back down again in April. I'm sure that's going to be a great time. But guys, that's about the time we have today. I want to thank all of our viewers for hanging out with us, and if you like the video, please click the like button and share it with your friends. It'll really help out the channel. Also, if you wouldn't mind, if you haven't done so already, please subscribe and turn notifications on, and that way you know whenever we release new content. Remember, you can find us on Facebook and Instagram. I'll put links in the description below. And as always, guys, thanks for watching. See you next time.